studios in New York, here are Stone Phillips and Jane Pauley.
Moms and dads argue in front of their kids, no matter how much they try not to do it. And often the ones who end up crying are the kids. Have you ever looked at their faces when you're arguing? When mom and dad fight, it's upsetting, confusing, painful. It hurts. But what happens when it's not words, but fists that are thrown?
Even if it's behind closed doors, the children know what's happening. They hear it and they feel it. Tonight we go to Nashville, Tennessee to meet some ordinary kids, kids who could be your next door neighbors, growing up in homes where mom getting beat up is a fact of life. And you'll meet one extraordinary police officer who's trying to make a difference.
Emergency. My dad's beating up my mom.
He picked the vacuum cleaner up and threw it at her, and it hit her in the side.
Dad is beating up your mama?
Yep.
They are children crying for help, watching their mothers being beaten.
Do they have any weapons? Are they fighting with anything?
Yes.
For a child to witness domestic violence is sheer terror. They are helpless and desperate, and they call 911.
Where's your mom at?
She's in the house. She's in the beating up. Come quick, please.
Okay, we've got them on the way.
Come quick and carry them.
Police!
I'd say the police were at our house about twice a week.
I'd come out from playing and there would be police cars out front.
Michelle and her brother Max once made calls like the ones you just heard to 911. Michelle was 9, Max was 11, when their stepfather started beating their mother. We agreed not to use their last names. Did you see her get beaten?
I did. One time, he threw a vacuum cleaner. He was really strong. I've seen him throw her up against the door and just, hit her.
When you saw that, what did you think? What did you feel, Michelle?
I didn't know what to do. I was so scared. I was just paranoid about everything. I tried to get out of the room and call the police, but yet he knew what he was going to do that day, and he would go and unhook the phones so they wouldn't work, lock all the doors, bolt the doors so we couldn't get out.
When you hear your mom being abused, it's like your heart stops beating, you start breathing, and your body just becomes a fist, a block of stone, it just freezes. It's real weird.
With fear?
Oh, yeah.
Was there a worst moment for you through all of this?
It was all worse.
Yeah.
For a child to stand by and watch their mother being beat, in some cases, is just as bad as if you were to beat them.
Sergeant Mark Wynn of the Nashville Police Department knows because, like Michelle and Max, he lived it as a child. For 10 years, he watched his stepfather brutalize his mother.
I can remember feeling exhausted because of the psychological stress of laying down and wondering, am I going to wake up in the middle of the night and it's going to be an all-out war in this house?
Today, Mark's passion for protecting the victims of domestic violence has earned him a national reputation. He trains police across the country. His goal, put an end to this violence and keep a promise he made to himself as a child.
It happened one night when there was a fight, and my stepfather was beating the living hell out of my mother. And I told myself then, and I guess I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I told myself then, I said, there will be a day when I'll make a difference.
You okay?
I don't know. He hit me.
More than 20 years later, Mark's childhood experience is still all too common.
Well, he's been drinking. He should have.
Every 15 seconds, a woman is battered in her home by a spouse or a boyfriend. And 90% of the time, there are children present.
Hi. Is your mom home? Is your dad home?
This scene is from a police training film made with Mark. It is an actual domestic violence call.
You got hurt now. We don't want to see it gets worse and worse and worse.
What did he do before he hit you with the phone?
He was just calling me names. That's the way it usually starts. If I even breathe, he just attacks me.
Does this have any real damaging effect on your kids to watch this?
Yeah, no.
Mark answers calls like this one every day. When you think about victims of domestic violence, you think about the woman, but it doesn't stop there, does it?
No, all too often we overlook these children, and there's just as much a victim of that crime as the person who's been hit.
It is estimated that each year some 4 million children witness domestic violence. 4 million children who, in their own way, like Michelle and Max, feel their mother's beating.
It was just like someone cutting the inside of me out.
You feel real insecure and scared, worthless, hopeless. Like you're just, defenseless of the whole situation.
What do you see in the faces of these kids? What do you see in their eyes?
You see just a blank stare. Police officers call it the 1,000-yard stare. And they're just looking at absolutely nothing. They've just turned themselves off emotionally. Because if they live it and react to it emotionally, it will eventually it'll kill them.
But dealing with the emotional trauma is vitally important, and experts say that often that can only begin once the battered mother and her children are removed from the ever-present threat of violence in the home. Mark teaches other police officers that it's not enough to simply show up on the scene and cool the immediate crisis. It's their responsibility to aggressively make arrests and make sure that families are brought to safety, something that was never done for his family. Often, the only safe place is a local shelter. Mark brings many families here to the Nashville Battered Women's Shelter.
It's an amazing place to go, a shelter, because it's like a hospital for your soul and your emotion. I mean, these people are there because they're battered. You can tell it's almost like they're combat troops, and they strip off all their gear, and they're sitting there, and they're sort of like, I don't have to listen to the guns of battle anymore. I can rest.
Your mommy and your daddy fighting. Where are you in the house?
In my room.
In your room? Can you hear them?
Yes.
How you feel when you hear them?
Sad.
For children, the shelter may be their first opportunity to express what they have seen and how they feel. As a therapist, Marie Taylor has seen hundreds of these children.
They draw pictures, talk to me about their feelings, and then they tell me how they feel, and I think that helped them a lot. This picture says, I am very sad. Do you want to tell me what you are sad about?
Because my father, he hurt my mommy. He hit her and he blooded her nose and he knocked her out.
He knocked her out. And did you see that?
Yes, it made me very angry.
I know you are hiding. Look at me. That's why mommy had to get away. Mommy had to get away to save herself, to save you, and to save your little sister. She loved you all dearly. And so that's why you are here at the shelter.
Tragically, the family unit, which should nurture children, instead disrupts their lives. They watch Dad, whom they love dearly, hurting Mom, whom they love as well. They are caught between the two most important people in their lives, and they are confused.
I know you love your daddy, and your daddy loves you. And you have the right to love your daddy. But I also want you to know your daddy does not have the right to beat on your mommy.
Did you ever feel that you should be protecting your mom?
Oh, yeah.
That was your job?
Oh, yeah. It's like you feel like that's your only job.
Experts say it's common for children to take on the role of protector.
I myself always felt like I was my mom's shield.
So you literally would go out and stand between your stepdad?
Yeah, there were times. There I am about waist high, and they're, a few feet taller, but, you run in and just even hug one of them. Whatever it took, just kind of stop at the moment so nothing would happen.
Boy, that's a sad picture, isn't it? I mean, just imagine some small child trying to intervene for his mother, a grown man. It's impossible.
Should they intervene? Should they try to come between their mom and dad during one of these fights?
I wouldn't want to tell a child, yes, you need to intervene and get involved in a fight, because they could get hurt, and it is serious, and it's dangerous.
That's the police's job.
That's our job, and that's why that someone in that house needs to call us so we can stop the fight.
Mark Wynn says too often as a police officer he has seen kids arrested because to stop the fighting they committed murder. Did it ever get to the point with you where you thought about killing your stepfather?
Yes, I did. He was a professional drunk. He did it real well. My brother and I, one day, snuck a bottle of his wine off of his nightstand where he was sleeping, and we took it in the kitchen and we emptied a bottle of bug spray into the wine bottle. This is stuff that kills the roaches. You remember the old Black Flag commercial where the roaches would kick up hands and feet, you know, and we were just kids. And with no hesitation at all, we put this bug spray in his wine and set it back on his nightstand. He woke up, and we came into the living room and sat down. We waited for him to turn heads up. I mean, we waited for him to die.
Mark was 7 years old at the time. His brother was 9. Even though their stepfather drank the bug spray, nothing happened to him. Had it worked, had it killed him, what would have happened?
We probably would have gone to jail. What you got is premeditated attempted murder by 2 little kids, because the pain and the suffering was so bad that we wanted to do something, and we weren't strong enough, big enough to retaliate against this guy.
You know, I thought about shooting him a few times. I had even said something to my grandfather, and you know, I just want to get rid of him.
What stopped you from doing it?
Luck, I guess.
Max and Michelle's stepfather has been out of their lives for a year now. Their mother, Sandy, divorced him. But as in so many cases, it wasn't the divorce or a restraining order that stopped his violence. It was an arrest for breaking into their house. Knowing what they've lived through, what do you fear most for your children?
You fear that the cycle will continue, that they'll live in the same hell that you lived. You are so afraid that your daughter will grow up and marry an abuser and your son will abuse someone.
Although Michelle admits she holds back in developing relationships with boys, she feels she will never allow herself to be abused the way her mother was. For Max, it's been more of a struggle. Have you been abusive in ways that you don't want to be with a girlfriend?
Yeah, like by smothering them, threatening them, things like that. You know, it's not me. I know it's not me. You know, I know I'm not a bad person, and these are things that aren't my fault, you know. You grew up seeing this, you don't know any better, and I'm doing my best to change it now.
How did you not grow up to have those kinds of impulses toward women?
Well, it's been something that I've always worried about, believe me. But I think that the element that pulled me, my brother, and my 3 sisters out of the cycle was the strength and the understanding of my mother, who told us that this was wrong.
Psychologists who've worked with children from violent homes say another key to breaking the cycle is for children to be shown positive adult role models, maybe an aunt and uncle or the parents of a close friend. Counseling is also considered critical. Max and Michelle have recently started that, and like Mark Wynn, they are determined to end the cycle of violence. Is it helpful, do you think, to talk about it, to get it out in the open?
Yes.
I think it's really helpful.
It can help you change your views. It can help you realize what's right, what's wrong, and you can start on the whole process of yourself so that you will not end up the same way.
Is your family on the road to better times, do you think, to recovery?
Yeah. Hope so. And that's what I'm looking forward to.
It's nice to see smiles on your faces.
We're still alive, still going, and that's what's important.
Max and Michelle never had any confusion. They knew what their stepfather was doing to their mother was wrong. Is it harder when the child sees a natural father maybe trying to make excuses for the father?
There's a lot of confusion. In all of these cases, usually, they were particularly clear because I think the strength of their mother, just like Mark Wynn's. But another boy, when I asked him in Nashville why he thought his dad beat up his mom, he told me, well, you know, when I do something wrong or bad, my dad spanks me, so I guess mom just did something wrong. They don't understand that there is no right on the part of the father or stepfather to do this.
He really said that.